Hello, I'm Chris Downham from Tackle It, and today we're going to look at some specific rugby core exercises that you can try at home. We're going to look at both bracing core, which allows us to sort of deal with all the collisions that we're taking in the game, but also some rotational core that allows us to flow and move and be powerful. So, stay tuned. So we're looking at both bracing core and also that rotational core. And the first bit I want to look at is some of the bracing movements. Those are the movements where we prepare our body for impact and help us ride tackles and also make tackles and be strong in contact and help predominantly to reduce injury more than anything else. So, number one, we're going to use a reasonably heavy piece of kit. I've got a 10 kilo plate here, you can use a 5 kilo plate or a rucksack with books in. You don't need a lot for this. And then we're going to go into both a dynamic and a isometric or a holding movement, a bracing movement. You're going to bring your feet up into that tabletop position. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit up and put the plate on my feet, then take my feet out in front of me and hold for a couple of seconds before bringing it back and taking it over my head again. So it takes it out, you brace, and then you start to move dynamically back through the movement. It gives you that bracing element where you're going to have to ride contact, but also an element of dynamic movement which helps release through the core as it's starting to fatigue a little bit. So that's number one. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman. However, we're not here to do Supermans because we're not trying to save the world. What we are trying to do is save your core and actually make sure it's strong enough to deal with some of the contact. So number two is the alternate Superman movement, okay? But how do we actually do it? So you need to be in this 4-point kneeling stance, trying to get a neutral hip position. So that's not too high, but it's not too sort of lordotic and sticking your bum out at the same time. It's sort of that middle position. And you don't want to be rocked too far back or too far forward at the same time. So once you find that neutral position, I want you to rotate your biceps forward. By doing that, we lock our shoulder into joint, as we do in a lot of other movements. And then what we're going to do is take an alternate arm and leg up at the same time. So as I slowly raise my right arm, I'm going to raise my left leg, ensuring not to drop through this hip and drop towards the floor and keep it stable. And that's the key to this movement. It's a really subtle movement and can be quite hard. And then you're going to bring it back down and then swap over, ensuring that you're not going to drop your hips or twist or try and rotate. You're trying to keep stable through your midline, a nice stable midline all the way from your head right the way down to the back of your toe. Okay? If you want to make that slightly harder or slightly more challenging, or you're really good at it, then take 2 small weights, bottles of water would do the same thing. These are only like 1 kilo in weight. And then what I want us to do is we're going to lift up with the weight, again, not dropping through our hips, and then slowly bringing it back down, and the same on the other side, okay? So that is a really subtle movement that can help you brace through your core, keep you nice and stable around your spine, and it will improve your game. So that was number 2. So number 3 is all about some little dynamic movement, but also bracing right through the front of our core and not using our back as much this time. Now, a front rack hold with a kettlebell is ideal. Then all we're going to do is take our legs out and point our toes. So I'm rigid through both legs and I'm starting to activate through my core. As you can see from this position here, I'm not too far back and I'm leaning all the way back here. I've got to make sure that I'm activating through my trunk and making sure that my posterior and my back is working nice and hard to keep me upright. And then I slowly flutter my legs. And from that angle, we're making sure we our chest nice and high and I flutter my legs. 20 or 30 seconds to start would be enough, sort of 2 flutters per second. If you don't have a kettlebell, use anything reasonably heavy. I could use a plate and hold it there and do exactly the same thing. You can hold it in one hand, you can swap hands and make sure you work the same on both sides. So that one is number 3. So number 4 and 5 are a little bit around our rotational core now, so we can still be fluid with our movement, and actually it's great for passing but also tackling and moving and doing multiple things at once. The first one we're going to look at is the bog standard Russian twist, and there are some pitfalls with this. You can use a kettlebell, okay, and you're going to take your feet up I cross my feet over to give me a little bit more bracing through my core, so I've still got that bracing element through here, and I'm going to twist round, I'm going to try and get down just to touch the floor, and it is not a bounce because I don't want to try and bounce it off and make it easy. I want to work through my intercostal muscles, my obliques and my ribs, and you want to be trying 30 to 40 reps, maybe 2 or 3 rounds at least with that sort of thing. You can also do the same with a plate, and sometimes it's a little bit more balanced with a plate or something a little bit bigger. Again, just touching the floor gently, making sure you're bracing. And the big one, don't go too fast. Make sure you work it. It's really, really important. So the last one we're going to do in our rotational and bracing core series is the kettlebell pull through. And what I want us to do is look at getting in a press up position. Okay, biceps rotated forward, so your shoulders locked in. From a side profile, it needs to maintain a nice strong midline, so my head all the way down a straight line to my back, to my legs and my bum, not dipping through here, okay? It's about maintaining our rigid core and working those back muscles just as much as the front. So, in that press up position, your feet are gonna be slightly wider than a press up, biceps forward, and then you're gonna pull a kettlebell through from underneath the other arm. Exactly the same again, and we're trying not to twist too much through our body. There will be some movement, but we're trying to minimize the twist of our hips, okay? So we're keeping it stable and trying to move the kettlebell through. Now this one starts off reasonably easy, but let me tell you, it gets hard pretty quick. And if you superset it with 1 or 2 of the other exercises that we've shown you, then you'll definitely be getting a good rotational bracing core workout. So that rounds off the 5 tips for your rugby core exercises. If you like our content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you want some quick stuff to do at home, check out our Instagram page. Thanks for watching.